Howdy folks, Kiosk here, sitting on my front patio in my robe. I decided, let's do something a little different. Let's do Post-Apocalyptic Mukbang, because why not? So, let's see, first thing we got, had some Kirkland coffee. It's just a regular medium ground. The way I make my coffee is I use a teapot, I heat the water, and then I have a French press so that there's no filter. This coffee is actually good enough, just basic, medium blend, but it's quality enough of a flavor that you really don't need to sweeten it. I used to be sugar and milk, then I moved to sugar. I'll put a little sugar in the first cup, and then after that, this is like my fourth cup of coffee, and there's no sugar here. It's definitely brown tasting, kind of nutty. Tis a bit nutty. It's good stuff, holds its flavor even when it cools off. The other thing I do first thing in the morning with coffee, you can't have coffee without cigarettes. The problem is I don't have the money for cigarettes. What I do have is several bags of the bottom shakings of some of this tobacco, and I'll tell you, this Largo Sun-Grown is actually really good. If you ever get a Nat Sherman full flavor tobacco, it is basically the same thing. There's nothing in it. It's not exactly organic, I don't think, but I don't get weird heartburn or anything like I do from eating foods that have pesticides on them. So, and in my case, what I do is, since I can't afford tubes for my machine, I actually have this water pipe, and it is loaded with tobacco. You can see there it is brown. Quality tobacco. Tastes good. You can roll these in cigarettes or smoke through a pipe or whatever, and this tastes way better than anything you get in any other big brand packed cigarette. I'll tell you a little secret. Marlboro gets its flavor from a spray. It's gross. Okay, so moving on. Got a great value cut green beans. It says picked and packed same day. These are not the no salt added ones, and I did notice that the top half of the can's worth of beans definitely had a lot more salt to it. They are crisp, they are flavorful. Well, crisp for being cooked. But unfortunately at the bottom there is a little bit of canned flavor there. Next up, I've got these golden potatoes that I baked in the microwave. Now, granted, true post-apocalypse, you probably won't have a microwave. You have to do them in tinfoil on a fire. But the way you do them in the microwave is you coat them in oil, and then you crust them in salt. Kosher salt works the best. And you cut a slit. You clean out the eyes and scrub it, of course, before you oil it up. And what you do is you cut a slit for the steamed event, and you turn it upside down, you microwave it, or however you want to do it, at, you get a full temperature for at least 5 minutes there, and then flip it over and do it again. Of course, over a fire or whatever, it takes a little longer. Interesting thing with potatoes is any of the ones that go bad, I've got 2 bags that I got halfway through before any of the, they really started sprouting. Sometimes you have more food than you can eat, and you don't want it to go to waste, but you don't want to throw it out. So the thing is with potatoes, though, they sprout. You can chop them into pieces and you can grow more potatoes. And that will be a project I'll be doing a video on here eventually. So this has some dried onion flakes in it, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of black pepper, of course the kosher salt on the outside. And this one I managed to have some real butter that I could put onto it. In the post-apocalyptic world, butter is scarce. I've also used meat fat, like lard, in place of butter, and it actually does add some good flavor. The smaller ones, you really only need to cook them for 4 minutes on a side. Flies. I have a larger potato here that is just a little firm, but definitely cooked. And so yeah, it's really tasty. Good way to get your essential nutrients. The greens are definitely important because you want to avoid scurvy. Even if you can't get vitamin C, but if you can get some good plant fiber. According to this one, you do get 6% of your daily value of, this is 3.5 servings per container. So I'm getting about 18 to 20% of my iron. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, so I get about 6 or 8% of my calcium and about 6 or 8% of my potassium. It does not have any vitamin D or vitamin C that I can tell. And of course, potatoes, potassium, and starch. It's good for energy, good for if you got to go out and move or work or whatever. It's delicious. Main course. Manwich Stew. Now, this is Keystone, all natural ground beef, fully cooked, no water added, no preservatives. About a pound of ground beef. It says 14 servings per container. Now, it's too warm to be able to refrigerate this, so I'm going to eat what I eat now. I'm going to cover it, and later tonight I'm going to have some pasta with it and eat the rest of it. It's important to get protein, but if you can't get protein from meat, you can also get a decent amount of protein from corn and from beans. Also in this, we've got vine ripe, low sodium tomato sauce. It's got a little fructose in it, but other than that, it's pretty good. A little citric acid. So we've got the same amount of iron and calcium, but 6% of potassium. Again, 3 servings per container here. So I'm getting a good third of my daily nutrition just out of this meal. And then let's see, what do we got here? 15% of iron per serving. So I'm definitely getting my iron. That's good. So yeah, basically what I did with this was I heated it. The canned beef comes with all the meat fat in it. And what I do is I heat it up good and hot, get all the fat and tallow melted. And then I decant the meat juice before making anything else with it. This is in the process of cooking. You can see that it is separated. The grease below contains a lot of water. It can probably be filtered down and reduced to a more usable grease. And the stuff on top will solidify into lard or tallow. And I've got this much of the previous can that I used of the beef. Sorry, I'm flicking flies. Previous amount of the can of beef that I had of juice, I've scooped off the top part into another jar so it's separated, and eventually this will be separate. And I can contain them in one jar, and then that can be used in the exact same way as lard or shortening, which means making popcorn, melting and putting on top of food in place of butter. Anything where you would use an oil to cook, you can use that, and you get a little bit of meat protein as well. And natural animal fat is always going to be better than vegetable oil. So then I added some, dried onions, oregano, garlic powder, onion powder, red pepper flakes, the tomato sauce, and I didn't really salt it that much. It definitely needs salt, but I'm going to get enough salt off this other stuff that it's not a big deal. It is literally just ground beef. You could use this on bread with the Manwich. Unfortunately, I was given too much bread, and most of it got moldy, so I don't have bread right now. It is tasty, definitely doable. So, yeah, you know, it's possible to eat just off of a small ration of canned food, dried goods, and whatever. I think the next one I do with this, I'll probably do my not world famous rice concoction. It's basically chicken, rice, a vegetable, some fat, all the basic nutritional needs I think that you need to survive. I find living on a mostly natural ingredient diet, given the circumstances, I don't have a refrigerator, so I have to be able to eat this within the day. It's no longer winter, so I can't use the porch for refrigeration to preserve food. So, again, that kind of limits what I can make and how much I can make. Considerations you would have to take into account if you were, post-collapse of society. Now, we're right now, I believe, post-point of no return for collapse of society, but the actual collapse has not happened yet. So, food is still available, power is still there, obviously cell phone service. But, sooner or later, the insanity that's gripped the world that doesn't seem to have a civil cure is going to make it impossible to survive for a lot of people. And if you don't know how to filter your water, if you don't know how to, harvest your own wild vegetables or, you know, bag of deer or something and process that, you're going to have difficulty surviving. There's going to be much suffering, and a lot of people will perish when this becomes a real issue. So anyways, thank you for joining me, and if this, well, I don't even care if this is popular or not. I may just decide I'm going to do this because I feel like doing it, because that's kind of my MO anyway. So thank you for joining me at my first post-apocalyptic mukbang.